So, forget all those videos you see of day traders with Lamborghinis and frantic clicking. Today, we're going to cut through all that hype. We're going to break down what a day in the life of a disciplined, professional trader actually looks like. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, before we even think about looking at a single chart, we have to start right here, with mindset. The thing is, winning in trading isn't about being some kind of genius who's always right. It's about having the discipline to admit when you're wrong and then acting on it, immediately.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And listen, the answer isn't some secret stock tip or a magic formula. It's a huge shift in your perspective. It's all about moving from the mindset of a gambler to the mindset of a business owner.
Which brings us to our first big idea. For the pros, trading is a business. It is definitely not a trip to the casino. Look, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. Your real job, as we're about to see, is to control your own actions and your own emotions inside that chaos.
All right, so a pro's day, it doesn't just kick off at 9:30 a.m. with some crazy, frantic clicking. No, it starts way earlier, with preparation. And the whole point is pretty simple, actually. You just want to know what's on the schedule for the day so you don't get completely steamrolled by something you could have seen coming.
So first thing every morning, a disciplined trader is looking at the economic calendar. They're looking for major reports like these. Things like the CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index, it tracks inflation, or big announcements from the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee. Why? Because these things can inject massive, totally unpredictable volatility into the market. Think of it like this. It's like checking the weather and seeing there's a hurricane scheduled to make landfall at 10 a.m.
And the source material is, well, it's not subtle about this. Trading during one of these big news events, it's just nuts. You've got everyone, big money, small traders, all reacting at the same time. The market just gets completely confused. So trying to trade in that, that's not a strategy. The source literally calls it insanity. The pro move, just stay out of the way.
Okay, so you've done your homework. You know when to sit on your hands. But what about when it's time to actually, trade? This is where the pros get really smart. They use the clock itself as a kind of strategic map, dividing the trading day into these different zones.
First up, we've got the red zone. And you can probably guess what that means. Danger. Just picture the market open at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It is pure chaos. The volatility is through the roof. And yeah, that means you could make a lot of money, but it also means you could lose a whole lot more even faster. Especially if you're new to this is a time to be super careful. All right, next is the yellow zone. Think of this like a yield sign. These are those in-between times. The market might be catching its breath after a big run, or it could be pulling back a bit, or it could be getting ready to flip and go the other way completely. The big takeaway here is you've got to be on your toes, ready for anything. And then, the green zone. This is what we're waiting for. This is a trader's sweet spot. You see, all that initial craziness from the open has fizzled out. Emotions aren't running so high. And because of that, you're much more likely to see clear, easier to read transform. This is where a disciplined trader really goes to work.
So here's what that actually looks like on a clock. You can see right away a pro's day isn't just nonstop action. It's not a constant fight. It's more like a dance, a rhythm of when to engage and when to step back. You've got that crazy red zone right at the 9:30 open, but then, see, it settles into a nice green zone. Then you hit that midday lull, another red zone, before things pick back up with another green zone in the afternoon. It's all about bringing structure to what feels like a totally chaotic day.
All right, so the clock tells us when to be on the lookout for a good trade. But what are we actually looking for when we're in one of those green zones? Well, this is where you have to learn to speak the market's language. And the most basic word in that language is trend. And you know what? This language is surprisingly simple. Seriously, an uptrend, that's just when the price is making a series of higher peaks and higher valleys. Think of it like walking up a staircase. That means the buyers are in charge. And a downtrend is, well, it's the exact opposite. Lower peaks and lower valleys. You're walking down the staircase. That means the sellers are running the show. And here, this is what it actually looks like on a real chart. You can literally see it. See that staircase pattern stepping down? Those are your lower highs and lower lows. And on the other side, you see it stepping up, higher highs and higher lows. Honestly, your first most important job as a trader is just to figure out which way is the staircase going. Okay, so we've covered when to trade in the green zones and what to look for, the trend. The tools themselves are pretty simple, right? But here's the catch. Knowing what to do and actually doing it are two totally different things. And this is something the source hammers home again and again. At the end of the day, success comes down to one thing: your personal discipline. And to help with that, the source gives us 3 ground rules. These are non-negotiable. First, always have a trading plan. I mean, always. This isn't just some nice idea, it's what keeps you from making crazy emotional moves when your money's at risk. Second, cut your losses, fast. Your ego has to be left at the door. Taking a small loss isn't failing, it's just a smart, strategic move. And number 3, end every single day flat. That just means you have 0 open trades. This protects you from some random overnight news event coming along and just wrecking your account while you sleep.
And this quote, man, it just sums it all up perfectly. Patience is power. See, patience in trading doesn't mean just sitting around doing nothing. It's about having the discipline, the self-control to wait for your perfect setup, that green zone, that obvious trend we were just talking about, and then pulling the trigger without hesitation because it's part of your plan. That is what being a pro is all about.
Which really brings us back to where we started, with one final crucial question. The framework we've talked about, it's simple. The rules are super clear. But here's the thing. They're worthless if you don't actually follow them. Every single day. No exceptions. So the real question isn't, can you figure out the market? The real question is, can you master yourself?